Well, the recent announcement on the way in which we implement the rules for Intelligent Octopus Go has certainly created a bit of a stir. Being candid, I think we've definitely learned about some of the real world challenges that implementing the rules as they are today would cause. And we've learned a lot about different people's hardware situations that fall outside of some of the expectations and knowledge we had. On top of that, I think in trying to communicate very clearly and simply, it's clear that we also didn't communicate some of the detail that people wanted and often legitimately needed. At the same time, I think when I look at the reactions, I'm blown away by just how enthusiastic, insightful, informed and thoughtful so many customers are as people have been discussing how it might affect them negatively, or indeed saying, look, for most people, this doesn't have a negative impact at all. I just thought I'd come back and say, look, so our team, I think, have done a great job, particularly Phil Steele, and in the background, people like Alex and Rebecca and many, many others trying to help answer or understand the individual questions and help answer those. Where we are today is, first of all, we should remember that the whole point of smart tariffs is that the electricity system at the back end has very, very variable pricing. Typically, the wholesale price of electricity is cheap when there's abundant supply, when it's windy or sunny, or when the grid is underloaded, when there's low demand, for example, overnight. And we want to be able to use smart tariffs, including I/O, to pass these benefits on to customers so that they can use more electricity at those times, giving them cheaper energy, particularly for things like driving an electric car or running a heat pump. But at the same time, also reducing the load at peak times for everybody else so that the whole system is more efficient and cheaper. But the key thing here is it's about using electricity at the right time, as opposed to being just cheap electricity for charging cars at any time. Now, in trying to ensure that we deliver on this and do so in the most efficient way possible, the point of Intelligent Octopus is to ensure that people get the best value by plugging in as often as possible so that we can squirt electricity into the car at the cheapest times, as opposed to, for example, running down a battery and then doing a very, very long charge to fill it up again. This kind of habit, a bit like the way we charge our phones, was kind of the insight behind how we can use Intelligent Octopus Go. The reactions from some customers helped us understand that there are legitimate problems with the changes we suggested, particularly that some chargers throttle the charging so that you can't get as much electricity in those 6 hours as you want. Now, I should be clear, we want you to use as much electricity as possible in those 6 hours. The more you can get in, the more efficient the system, the lower the cost and so on. So this isn't Octopus kind of wanting it throttled, in fact, quite the opposite. So we've had conversations with the charger manufacturers, and for example, OMI at the moment will be increasing the charge rate, effectively removing the throttling, and that'll be in place long before these changes take place. Similarly, we're speaking to other manufacturers of equipment where this might be an issue, and we'll try and get all of that sorted by the end of January. I have seen sort of stuff that's a bit a conspiracy theory, like that we're throttling it, and that's absolutely not the case. The more we can use at those cheap times, the better for everybody. But deep in the bowels of the many integrations required to run Intelligent Octopus, certainly there will be times when developers made a decision on how they control the device that might have had an inadvertent consequence. All of the feedback you've given us means we can start sort all out long before it takes effect. So that shouldn't be an issue. There are some very complicated situations where people have got things like solar and a battery, and we need to make sure that, for example, they're charging the car from the I/O Go cheap price during these times, as opposed to, for example, from their own home battery or solar, if possible. This affects a relatively small number of people, but we're working hard to make sure that there should be a solution for that. And for those that want to be able to do a sort of bump charge and so have the occasional long journey, we want to make sure that you're in control of, for example, maxing out what you can get in the 6 hours. And so there might be some tweaks to the user interface to enable that to work better. But overall, we know the vast majority of customers should be basically unaffected by these changes, and we're working hard to ensure that will be the case. For the small number of customers who brilliantly worked out hacks and workarounds to power their whole house with cheap electricity as well as their car for very long periods of time, obviously, the economics of that don't work and can break the system for everyone else. But where we've discovered kind of these legitimate issues with the changes, we're working really hard to sort it. I'm sorry the communications weren't as clear as they could have been, but I'm also proud the team have just jumped on every issue that people have raised to see if we can help fix it. And we'll continue with all this extra understanding to make it as smooth as possible. There'll be more updates, but I'd like to thank all of our customers for the way in which you kind of give us the feedback. It's typically positive. Obviously, occasionally there's the odd conspiracy theory, bit of kind of grumpiness, but overall, this is a product that's changing electricity in ways that no one had imagined a few years ago, and that throws up lots of surprises. These conversations, these changes, and the speed at which we all work together mean that we can continue making electricity cheaper and better for everybody as it gets cleaner, especially using technologies like electric vehicles. So I'm sure there'll be more hurdles on the way, but the whole point is together we get over those and we fix the solutions, we will. The whole point here is we try to pass on the benefits of the back end to customers, and that's what we'll keep doing. So thank you everybody, and thank you to the team as well who worked continually since we started work on these changes. But as I say, rest assured, the vast majority of people will see very little impact, if any, on costs. If you've got the odd very big charge, you might not be able to get it all in the 6 hours, but typically, even when you're going to be doing a long journey, you're topping up your battery from wherever it was before rather than from zero. So we know that as long as people kind of plug in often, this is going to be relatively modest impact, if any, and still delivers incredible value. The story that in one of the national newspapers that don't really like EVs, that wanted to hype up the changes, prompted me to note that, typically you can still get on 1,000 miles a week for 21 quid. That's unbelievable value. Now, of course, some people say, I can't get that because I don't have a home charger and so on. But, the broad direction here is the more electricity we can get people to use, that we can use at those cheap times, the more we can keep delivering absolute bargains. And if IO Go isn't the right solution for a small number of customers now, I hope we've got others in our portfolio to help.